Part 1.
I'm 29, male, working in tech. Not the most glamorous job, but it pays the bills, and I'm good at it. I wouldn't call myself flashy or outgoing. I'm more of the guy who flies under the radar, steady and reliable. My career started humbly. I worked in tech support before climbing the ladder to a mid-level developer position. It wasn't glamorous work, but I was proud of it. Or, at least I was, until my now ex-girlfriend made me feel like I shouldn't be. We were together for 3 years. She worked as a marketing executive, always talking about how fast-paced and elite her job was. At first, I didn't mind her playful teasing about my nerdy profession. But as time went on, the jokes became sharper, more cutting. She'd roll her eyes if I mentioned a promotion or a successful project. If I was excited about a work milestone, she'd respond with something like, "That's cute. Let me know when you're running your own team." It got worse when she started hanging out with her new work friends. They were all into appearances, fancy restaurants, designer clothes, luxury vacations. Suddenly, she was comparing me to her colleagues' partners, some of whom were doctors, lawyers, or entrepreneurs. I could tell she was embarrassed by me, especially when she started declining invitations to introduce me to her coworkers. I ignored it for a while, thinking it was just her way of coping with stress. But then came the tipping point. One night, we went to dinner with her closest friend. I don't remember the exact context, but her friend asked me what I did for a living. I started explaining, but before I could finish, my girlfriend interrupted. "Oh, he's just in IT. He fixes computers and stuff. Nothing too exciting." Her tone was so dismissive, it felt like a slap in the face. I confronted her later that night, and she shrugged it off. "Babe, I didn't mean anything by it. It's just not that impressive, you know? You could do so much better if you tried." That was the first time I felt like maybe I wasn't enough for her.
Part 2.
The breaking point came a few months later. We were at a family gathering, her family, not mine. Her cousin had just landed a high-profile consulting job, and everyone was showering him with praise. She leaned over to me and whispered, "See? That's ambition. You should take notes." I didn't respond. I couldn't. It was one thing to make digs at me in private, but to humiliate me in front of her family? That was too much. We fought about it on the way home. I told her she was being disrespectful and condescending. She fired back, saying she was just being honest and that I was too sensitive. "Maybe if you had thicker skin, you'd be in a better position by now," she said. That was it. I broke up with her the next day. She was furious, accusing me of overreacting and being immature. But I was done. I moved out of our shared apartment, found a place of my own, and focused on my career. At first, I was devastated. Breakups are hard enough, but it's worse when the person you loved makes you feel small and insignificant.
But the pain didn't last long.
A few weeks after the breakup, I got called into a meeting with upper management. Turns out, they'd been watching my performance and wanted to fast-track me for a leadership position. They offered me a promotion to lead developer, along with a significant pay bump. I threw myself into the new role, working long hours and learning everything I could about managing a team. It was challenging, but for the first time in a long time, I felt valued and respected. About 6 months later, I got another offer, this time for a senior manager position at a competing company. The salary was nearly double what I was making, with amazing benefits and remote work flexibility. I jumped at the opportunity. Part 3. Things were going great. Then, out of nowhere, my ex reached out. She sent me a message on LinkedIn congratulating me on my new role. I ignored it. A few days later, she texted me, "Hey, saw the news about your promotion.
Congrats.
Would love to catch up." I didn't respond, but she didn't stop. Over the next few weeks, she sent me multiple messages, ranging from casual check-ins to full-on apologies. She admitted she'd been wrong to belittle my career and said she regretted how things ended. "I miss us," she wrote. "Can we talk?" Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her. I wanted closure. Or maybe I just wanted to hear her admit she was wrong to my face. We met at a coffee shop. She looked nervous, which was unusual for her. She started with a heartfelt apology, saying she'd been immature and insecure. She said she realized too late how supportive and hardworking I'd been, and she wanted another chance. I asked her point-blank why she wanted to get back together. Her response? Because you've proven yourself now. You're successful, ambitious. Everything I knew you could be. I stared at her in disbelief. So, you only value me now that I've proven myself to you? What about all those years when I was working hard but didn't have the fancy title or salary? Did I not matter then? She tried to backtrack, but the damage was done. I told her I wasn't interested in getting back together and walked out.
Part 4.
That should have been the end of it, but she didn't take no for an answer. Over the next few weeks, she bombarded me with texts and calls, alternating between apologies and accusations. She claimed I was being cruel for holding a grudge and that everyone deserves a second chance. When I blocked her number, she started reaching out to my friends, trying to get them to convince me to talk to her. But the final straw came when she showed up at my office unannounced. She caused a scene in the lobby, demanding to see me. Security had to escort her out. That's when I decided to take action. I consulted a lawyer about filing a restraining order. They advised me to document everything, texts, calls, and any evidence of her harassment. After a few weeks of building my case, I filed for a protective order. When she was served, she lost it. She sent me one final, furious email, accusing me of ruining her life and threatening to expose me for being a vindictive, heartless person. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, who added it to the case file. The restraining order was granted, and she was legally barred from contacting me. In the end, I felt a mix of relief and vindication. Her entitled behavior had finally caught up with her, and I was free to move on with my life. Looking back, I realized that her attitude wasn't just about my career, it was about control and validation. She needed to feel superior, and when I stopped playing along, she couldn't handle it. If there's one thing I've learned from this ordeal, it's to never let anyone diminish your worth. Success isn't about titles or salaries. It's about being true to yourself and valuing the people who truly support you. So, to anyone out there dealing with entitled exes or toxic relationships, stand your ground. It's worth it in the end. And hey, if you enjoyed this wild ride of a story, hit that subscribe button. You wouldn't want to miss the next chapter, right?